Right, hello to everybody. I'll be doing the stream for about an hour today. I just finished watching Mike's stream, so I'm doing one now. But I won't start the stream until a load more people get in. Hopefully in this video you won't hear loads of fans in the background because the weather's cooled down a bit now, so I don't need to have air constantly running in my room. So that's all good. However, my hay fever feels like it might be a bit bad today, so apologies if I end up sounding a bit snivelly on the microphone. Hopefully it won't be too bad, but you know, I have a feeling today's probably going to be a high pollen count day. Out of interest, let me have a quick look up what the pollen count is for today, because I bet it's already quite high. Moderate, apparently. I know why it feels a bit higher than moderate, but maybe it's just something's irritated my hay fever a bit. When you say Mick, I assume you mean Mike. It's up to him, really. Just, well, I'm not really ill, it's just obviously a hay fever, which is more of a seasonal thing, because during the winter I'm totally fine. But during the summer, that's when it gets me, which is a bit annoying, because you want to go out and enjoy the sunshine, and you always feel ill. When you say me Bean, do you mean Mr. Bean? Hello. Hello. Yep. Oh, and for the people asking when am I next going to stream video games again, I suppose I could do that in about a week if the weather carries on cooling down, because it won't be so bad having all the GPU accelerating and everything else, heating the computer up even more. But where it's been so hot over the last few days, where it's been like 30 odd degrees in my room every day, I didn't exactly want to pump, you know, a GPU up to 70 centigrade as well to just, you know, heat it up even faster. But if the weather carries on being cool for about a week, then that won't be an issue. Oh, obviously we've heard of Mr. Bean. That's what I wouldn't have said. Oh, did you mean Mr. Bean? If I hadn't heard of Mr. Bean, wouldn't have. Rowan Atkinson. But Blackadder's better than Mr. Bean. Out of all those things. Also, have we heard that Novichok claimed its first victim, so it now has a 20% fatality rate for the world's most deadly nerve agent, because that one drug addict woman died. Probably of a heroin overdose, but let's blame Novichok. I didn't see any of it. Because I don't live where they're doing it, so obviously didn't have time to go and do it when I've got actual stuff on. With the CM4 and MC1, is that the same as the Polish MC1 and the Czechoslovakian CM4? Out the two, the CM4 is probably the better mask. I do this for a living, which is pretty obvious. Yeah, deadly assault Novichok heroin. I saw the first Johnny English, that was right. I saw the second one, that wasn't too bad, but I haven't seen those in years. But yeah, I like Blackadder the most out of all of the Rowan Atkinson things. Outright bought it, Bullfrog. Their finance would have been quite cheap on it, but I always prefer paying for stuff outright than having debts. But yeah, no, Dacias are very good. They're basically just Renaults with a different badge on them, because they're made by Renault now, regardless. Dacia is one of their factories, so yeah, the thing is, everybody who's now been in the car as a passenger is very surprised when I tell them it's a sub 10k car, because you are literally just being ripped off if you buy a Clio at the moment, because you're buying a Renault Dacia with, you know, just a different badge on it for the most part, slightly different body kit, and that's it. All the internal components are the exact same on both cars. Well, until the Tories think nobody at all is listening to it, they're going to keep shouting Novichok, because the government's falling apart at the moment. We've had lots of resignations, so they're going to keep shouting Novichok at everything to distract from that. AK-74 because it's the more modernised one, and obviously the 545 by 39mm is much more comparable to 556 by 45 that NATO uses, so it's generally a flatter trajectory rifle. Obviously the 7.62 version is very good for punching through cover at close range. If you ever watch videos of people shooting cinder blocks with an AK, whatever, you'll see how good it is, but AK-74 generally just because it's a more modernised design with a few improvements. Alright, Jesse? Both are awful. Probably PMK1. Wouldn't want either if I had to use one. Oh yeah, because when I had my Golf, the Mark IV, that was basically an LDA3. The Golf Mark IVs were LDA3s with slightly different body kits on them, but it was cheaper on both insurance and everything else to get the Golf rather than the LDA3. Well, Kevin, you oil them now and again, if that's what you mean. You sort of oil them and polish them. But other than that, they don't need looking after because they're not going to foul up inside because they don't obviously shoot, so it's not like you're getting sort of anything like that on them. So I just hang them on the wall, and it's only if I handle them do I sort of grease them or anything, because it's mostly when you put fingerprints on them that's a bit corrosive. Probably MP40 out of the two of the Thompson. They have a much more updated PMK, and they have the one I always forget the name of, ROU, whatever it is, which is like the fabric mask. Yeah, Thompsons are nice guns, but the issue with the Thompson was it was just too heavy and too expensive to manufacture, which is why they went to the grease gun later on. Alright, see ya. Yeah, I just do the streams when I've got time to do them, and this is generally the best kind of time of day for me to do streams, rather than, you know, doing them in the evening. Because sometimes when I do them later, it's better for people in the States to watch, but at the same time, often it's not as good for me to actually do a stream. Probably MG34. Grease gun is actually better than the Sten gun, but if I could pick any of those cheap guns, I'd go with PPS 43. Yeah, but I bet it wasn't in service properly. It would be like a lot of the guns where it has some very back-end roll somewhere. But the grease guns were in service until the 80s, I think, in like tank crews and everything else. Very easy, just go on a site that sells deactivated guns and pay the money and buy it. No, the name sounds familiar, Owen Machine Carbine, but I don't actually think I've seen it. I've seen like the Owen gun and everything else, if that's related to that. Nah, never driven a motorbike. Wouldn't want to here because we constantly get motorcyclists and regular cyclists killed because a lot of the roads here are not good for biking on. I think I've said on the deactivated gun video, totally depends on the gun and everything else. So you'd have to name an individual gun for me to tell you the price on it, but that's even if I can remember the price because they keep appreciating in value. Probably K98K. Ah, okay, yeah, I know the Owen gun. SLR was £395 if I remember right. A lot of them are around the £400 mark for all the rifles. Yeah, but it'd been £10 back in the day money, which is quite expensive still today. Unless you've already adjusted it for inflation and then you're saying £10, but yeah, they would have been cheap to make in the day comparably. That was the whole point. They kept making the Sten cheaper and cheaper with lots of changes. But yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to with this car, just having something that's cheap to run. You know, not much is going to go wrong with it. Just because as much as I love the Golf, it was just getting to the point where it was, you know, eating up too much money because of the age of it. Where every time I needed something done, it would be quite expensive because lots of the original car was essentially, you know, falling apart. So you'd have to have bits constantly replacing new bits, and then that's a never-ending cycle. Well, it depends. Obviously, the Garand is much better as a rifle for shooting longer ranges because it's essentially a battle rifle. The thing is, I have a soft spot for the M1 carbines, especially if it was an M2 carbine. But really, it does depend, doesn't it, on what the situation you're using it is. But for the most part, the Garand just due to its range advantage and power advantage. When I did a trip that was about 30 miles the other day, I got over 50 MPG in it. It's not been as good as that on some of the trips, but that was, you know, the trip which had quite a bit of dual carriageway and stuff on where I wasn't having to stop and start constantly. But the Golf wouldn't have got 45 on that same trip. It would have got somewhere between 40 and 45 on a very good day. The Golf would normally get 35 MPG, which wasn't too bad considering it was a big engine in it, but you know, that's the thing, is this car is obviously comparatively any drive I do is going to be much cheaper on petrol, and obviously, as I say, it's not just the MPG thing, it's you know, how likely is it a part's going to fail, how much would that part cost to replace, and that's the thing I don't have to worry about with ages with a new car, is, you know, like bodywork, rust and all types of things like that. Probably the 1911 out of the World War II pistols, although saying that I prefer the Browning high power, but both are very good. I mean, the high power is kind of like a 1911 in 9mm with a couple of changes. I had the Golf for 4 years, but it was 14 years old when I bought it, so I had it till it was about 18 and sold it, but that was just because, as I said, year on year, there was more and more stuff going wrong with it. Yeah, well, there was a good Forgotten Weapons video about the M1 carbine, and it was about the things that were good and bad about it, and how, you know, a lot of it is relative for the time. So when people complain about reliability issues on the M1s today, it's like, you know, it was an existent thing at the time because most World War II guns weren't as reliable as modern rifles, just because improved in machining techniques, materials used in the, you know, rifles and everything else. So, you know, they were saying in that when people say M1 carbines are not reliable, they're comparing it to modern, like AR-15s and AKs. When you say they're not reliable, that's not really true in a World War II context. Which model Soviet NBC suit is it? Like I said, I've got the Polish and East German ones, and they're alright. Bit heavy. I mean, the Polish R1 suit I like because it's thinner rubber than the others. But yeah, what'll be interesting at some point, I have to take the Sandero up a motorway quite far, and then I'll see what sort of fuel economy I can get if I'm driving, you know, along a motorway for ages. I could probably, I imagine it might even get to 60 MPG or something, if I'm doing that. Well, I only have an SHMS. The PRWU is technically more armoured in a sense. It's got more like chemical resistant bits on it, so PRWU, but I only have the SHMS and I like the SHMS. The only thing is, in the US and the UK, the gallons are a different measurement. So when I say MPG, that would be a different number that you'd get in American MPG. I can translate that quickly. I'll round it up to 51 MPG because it was closer to 51. I think it was 50.8. So 51 MPG to American MPG. Does that give me... UK gallons to US gallons. Okay. Is there actually a conversion thing? Let's put this in. I want one that's just a simple conversion thing, where I can put one on one side and the answer on get the answer on the other, but it doesn't seem most do that. Okay, let's see. 51. Does this give me an answer? Nope. Well, you're not going to get an answer from me then on how the gallons differ, because none of the online converters seem to give you a simple answer. They want you to then use a calculator and do other bollocks. But yeah, regardless, you'd get much better than 15 MPG. I mean, in the US, is there actually any market for like European city cars? Because that's the thing, you'd be much better off of fuel doing that. Another point is as well, in the US, the fuel is quite low octane, isn't it? Isn't it something like 91? Because standard fuel here is 95, and like expensive fuel is 98 or 99 octane. So you'd get better MPG simply for the fuel being better here, but obviously the fuel is so much cheaper in the States, it doesn't really matter. Probably Luger P08, because the C96 has that kind of weird system, doesn't it? I'd rather have, yeah, definitely Luger P08. I know the Luger's got the weird thing. What's the other one? The Wolfer, wasn't it? Which is kind of the modernised one. The Wolfer was pretty good, but the Luger's much cooler looking. You're a bit out of luck if you want an NBC suit for over 6 foot height, because they generally made NBC suits in one size fit all, which went up to about 6 foot, and that was it. I wouldn't be driving and streaming and answering questions at the same time. That's the computer fan running, which is much quieter than the other fans. I actually prefer Pepsi to Coke. Yeah, it's surprising what fuel economy you can get out of certain cars, but I know there's a lot of stuff where a lot of it comes down to how you're driving and road conditions rather than actually... You know, I reckon if you got a load of modern cars and drove them in the exact same way, you'd get very similar fuel economies out of them, but obviously lots of people don't, you know, drive cars economically, because there's actually an eco mode I can flick on the Sandero, and I don't like that, because I found flicking the eco mode on most of the time gives me lower fuel economy, because when you have the eco mode on, they expect you to drive in a certain way, and I don't like driving like that. Yeah, the broom handles are C96. Just type PMG gas mask into eBay. Yeah, I think there was a Top Gear thing I watched where they were actually going on about the how they like putting sports engines in the pickups now as like a default thing, because like everybody just drives a pickup truck, so why not make hot hatch almost pickup trucks, which is kind of a silly thing, but apparently there's a market for it. Right, see ya. M61 out of the 2 gas masks, because the M61's just an improved M9. Probably UK weapons laws. Because if you are in socks and sandals and you had an AR-15, nobody's going to make fun of you, are they? Well, if you can get modern filters for them, I know they're 60mm masks, but if you get the converters, the masks will be fine as long as they still make an airtight seal. Or you could just sell them, couldn't you? You could put them on eBay for a little bit of money each, undercut everybody else and make a load of money. I've already done loads of videos saying why I wouldn't use a GP5 filter, so why are you asking me would I trust it? No, I've not watched it at all. I see England are actually doing alright this year, which surprises me, but I don't like football at all. Rugby's much better. The thing that annoys me in the UK is we have massive problems in the country. People get very nationalistic over the football, and then they'll just go back to kind of taking all the shit they're given by the government when the football's not on. And it's kind of a shame we can't convert football nationalism into actual nationalism, but I guess that's the way it works, bread and circuses. M17 over the M10. Israeli filters don't fit the GP5. Israeli filters and NATO. GP5's a Ghost mask. I even did a video demonstrating that. Oh yeah, it's like, I don't know if you see this, it's like where the people get their England flags out for the football. They'll proudly put their England flags everywhere for the football. As soon as the football's over, they put them away, or, you know, they get told, oh, you can't have the English flag out, that's racist, and they're like, oh yeah, yes sir, good sir, I'll put away this flag. I'll only get it out next time the World Cup's on. Well, I don't like any of the PMG masks, but I guess that PMG2 is probably an improvement on the PMG1. The AR-15 isn't a full auto rifle, AR-15 is semi-automatic. Oh, at least the modern ones are. I know the old ones probably were fully automatic, as that was before the machine gun ban. I take it you've got it set up properly with a filter, because I know some of these come with like weird covers over the filter port. Yeah, I just support England because, like I said, I don't watch rugby enough to actually you know, watch regular stuff, but I watch England when they're normally on for the Rugby World Cup, but so I don't have much interest in the football. If I had to pick between the two, probably an M16, but like I said, I'd probably prefer an AK-74 over the M16, but I'd happily have both of those rifles if they were going. I mean, the good thing with the AK is you can obviously care for it a lot less in terms of reliability because of how loose the tolerances are. But in terms of like sights and accuracy and everything else, obviously the M16 beats the AK. Yeah, GP5 is 40mm, but it's 40mm Gauss, not 40mm NATO, which is a world of difference. Have you tried the mask without the filter on and see what happens? Well, if I got $1 million, of course I would. And yeah, obviously I do like playing some video games, otherwise I wouldn't play them. It's not like it's torturing me to play them and I'm like, oh no, make it stop. No, in rugby generally a lot more of the players are like white English. I don't know why with football. Lots of the teams have foreign players, but the thing is, this is one of the reasons I don't like I don't think you're racist for asking that at all, but this is one of the reasons why I don't like you know, all the pro football stuff anyway, because it's not actually a proper sport when you start just bidding for players from all around the world to play in your team because they're technically the best. It's kind of all the fun taken out of it. You know, because when you have, what I like with actual sports is when it's actually proper competition where you have people from the country that are meant to be represented. So wherever that country is in the world, they've got their players represented. And, you know, it's like an actual proper organised thing. But the thing is with professional football, it's literally, who's the most expensive player? Let's bid for them, bid for them. Oh, look, they fake falling over and hurting themselves so we can give them even more money. Professional football is just shit and boring because it's not a real sport anymore. It's just what happens when you take a sport to its conclusion of having so much money put into it. Yeah, nothing wrong with drones for warfare as long as you ID the targets properly. I don't currently accept anything in the post from people, so you can't send me a Desert Storm chemical suit. But I've got a British Mark III and a Mark IV suit, which are Desert Storm ones. Yeah, you've probably either got a damaged filter, or you've got that weird thing on there that's a breathing resistance trainer. No, I haven't seen Aussie rules football. But yeah, exactly, it's which team has the most advertising behind it and the richest owner of the club. Yeah, and then buy all the most premium players from around the world. Yeah, you see, I only trust certain people to send me stuff, this is why. So you have to have a properly established channel where you make lots of videos before I'd even consider letting people send me stuff. Oh, yeah, exactly, Bullfrog. This is the thing. It would be much better with football if everybody just submitted whoever the best people were in their country for a national sport, rather than saying, "Oh, this is the England team," but actually we've got, you know, like Spaniards and whatever else playing for us. Nothing against them, but if they're Spaniards, they should be on the Spanish team, if you get my point. In the Olympics, you can't randomly hire athletes from other countries to take part as your Olympic team, so why are they allowed to do it in the football? Well, I would have said tea a few years ago, but I drink a lot more coffee now. I don't have an oxygen supply system for Israeli filters. I just have one standard Israeli filter and 2 Israeli masks. I don't know, I kind of like talking about cars. I wouldn't buy it if you intend to use it as a rebreather. If you want it as a collectible, sure, but don't buy it and use it as a rebreather because you might be dead. Yeah, you're gonna soon have Warhammer 40k with all of this Space Marine stuff. Yeah, exactly for the reason Mike says I don't want anybody sending me anything, because yeah, it's either going to be anthrax or a bomb or something, or it's going to be something totally illegal. Because I've had Americans keep saying to me, can I send you a gun and stuff like that. So, yeah, there's a good reason why I only let certain people send me things and I don't have a PO box, just because I don't trust that I'd get sent legal things. Yeah, slow mode's fine as it is. Yeah, like I said, football's just totally, I think, wank sport for me, just because of how stupidly overpaid the players are and how shit they kind of are in comparison. Like I was saying, when you see them like fall over and crying, that's where, like with the rugby, you see people, you know, bleeding from the head and they just carry on playing the game because they're not like spoilt twats. I like the old British DPM stuff. I'd say Flecktarn, though, is probably my favourite uniforms, because I both like the Flecktarn pattern and the Flecktarn stuff is very good quality in terms of, like, quality of the buttons, material and everything else. So yeah, I'd say probably like the West German or modern German Flecktarn stuff, just because the material is both good quality and the camo pattern's good. Yeah, but you're missing the point. The point is I don't give my address to random people because you don't know what they might send in. Currently not Bullfrog. Hopefully it will stay that way. Do you mean gas masks that don't have a panoramic lens when you say besides 180 degrees ones? The Forshida, I'd say Forshida F2, or maybe an S6. The S6 will make you feel a bit sick after a while, but it looks cool. I can get the stats up for the age gaps, and surprisingly most of them are like 20 to 40 age range, but I have a growing number of like under 18 viewer base, which is quite obvious sometimes when you look at the comments. Oh, I did have a guy earlier calling me a fucking edgelord because I did a video on gas mask. It's like, I don't think he even knows the meaning of that word. To protect yourself from anthrax, you just have a suit on so you don't get skin contact, and have a mask on, same way you protect yourself from most biological and chemical weapons. Do you mean the Satan missile? The ICBMs? You just type in FP5 filter if you want a modern safe one for a GP5. Lord Tachanka sometimes comments. Favourite gas mask is the Avon CT12. But then saying that, where I've had a load of trolling comments recently, that's probably GCHQ, because the funny thing, as soon as Novichok was brought up again, I started getting loads of identical comments on the Novichok videos from the last time, which makes me go, oh, they've got their trolling budget back on again. If you were buying a reproduction mask, I would not spend $91 on it. That's all I'd say. You know, most reproductions are worth 50 quid at most. Who are you asking why to, Ryan? Because you didn't quote somebody, so I don't know what you're actually saying why to. Oh, I'm definitely on a watch list. They'd never give me a firearms license in the UK, despite I don't tick any boxes not to have one, because I don't have a violent criminal record, I don't have any criminal record, you know, anything like that. But because I've said mean things about the government before, can't have a firearms license in the UK. S10 obviously, gas mask guy, you already know my answer to that. But 18 is a legal barrier, that's the thing. Well, Alex, it's like GCHQ. We actually have a division of we have a keyboard warrior division, just like the Americans have the NSA, where basically most of their job is just kind of trolling YouTube videos to try and sway public opinion to be the government side. It's like one of the most pathetic jobs you could ever have, trolling for the government. I think they're moulded on Israeli gas masks, so they like took a mould of them and then they just make the mould, because otherwise they'd be losing money, because the bong masks are actually normally cheaper than the 4A1s. So if they were new 4A1s, they obviously couldn't then put a bong on it and sell it for cheaper. But I don't have one, so I've never actually looked at it. Yeah, cool, go ahead. If you want to make videos, nothing's stopping you. Android. Apple stuff is really overpriced. I would not pay more money than I need to for a product. Wouldn't the ATF get you then, Tree Man? Yeah, UK has lots of rules in theory and practice that are different. The firearms rules are very much politically controlled. They don't want anybody having a gun that has any kind of anti-government sentiment at all. I wouldn't play either of those games, Gas Mask Guy. Some people have 3D printed Ghost to Stanag adapters, but there's no actual commercial ones available. And I've heard there's lots of problems with the 3D printed ones where sometimes they're not quite moulded quite right and they don't quite fit. Because I don't need people to donate to me. I can buy one my own money. People can donate to me on Patreon if they want to, if they just want to donate to me, but lots of people don't bother doing that. Not that I'm saying people should be forced to donate to me on Patreon, but it's amazing the amount of people that asked me to open a Patreon and then made convenient excuses when I opened it of why they couldn't donate even $1 a month. So, like I said, I'm not forcing anybody to donate. I'm very, grateful of the donations I get. I just find it quite funny that lots of people constantly go on about opening, donation pages and then obviously don't want to support it themselves. Yeah, but I don't have any more interesting stories. A person with a Russian name that I can't pronounce. Like most of the ones I've said, that have really happened to me, I've said, and I'm not going to start making stuff up. Obviously, if something interesting happens, I'll do a video on it. But, I'm not going to make stuff up. Don't ask me questions, will I ever get certain masks, because basically, if I see the mask cheap, I'll get them and then do videos on them, otherwise I won't. And sometimes people keep hounding me saying, will you buy this mask? Will you then buy that mask? If I get the mask, I get it. If I don't, I don't. That's the easy way of saying it. No, I don't use any sort of crypto stuff. I don't really understand it, to be honest. Alright, Holy Pancake. But yeah, I can only tell stories that are truthful because I've not made anything up. So I can't do more of those videos unless something actually happens. Yeah, I'd definitely get a flamethrower if they were legal. That would be shits and giggles. No, because I don't want Patreon to have reward tiers online. I just want it to be if you donate, you get the same privileges as everybody else, no matter what you donate. People can donate more than $1 if they want to. A lot of people have done on my Patreon. Yeah, you can burn weeds with them. I don't know for certain if they wouldn't give me a firearm. I just suspect I would not get the license. But you only really rent firearms in the UK. You can't own them because of how many checks and balances are on them. Well, there are new unissued S10 filters, but they're not new, are they? They're way out of date because they're from the same time as the S10s are made. Oh, actually, that's the thing. You're the first one, Alex. I don't think I've been asked about airsoft this stream. So there we go. You've asked it, haven't you? Although I think you already know the answer to that. Well, I can only do an M40 gas mask review if I manage to get an M40, but it's an American mask and I'm not American, so that's very difficult. I don't think that SG mask is new, because people have been asking me for years about it, and it's because there's kind of like a scam video of that, where a guy says it's the best gas mask in the world, where it's an okay mask, but there's nothing amazing about it. But it's just every stream I normally get several people keep asking me, why don't I own, you know, X gas mask yet? When am I going to get X gas mask? Good and not expensive gas mask. Finish M61s if you get a filter adapter for them. If they fit you well, Draeger M65s. S10s if you're in Britain, get one for £30, or an FM12 for about £30. Well, I like the Avon CT12, but a lot of the time the best mask will depend on your face shape, because technically any air rifle in the UK is legal as long as it's under 12 foot-pounds of energy. So you could have a 50 cal air rifle. The problem would be that you know, the pellet wouldn't leave the barrel very fast, because you know, it has to be under 12 foot-pounds of power. Yeah, my neighbour, I think, uses petrol to burn lots of weeds and rubbish. I think the world is I think we are getting climate change, but I don't know how much man has to do with it, because you get natural cycles as well. I mean, but I don't think you need an excuse not to pollute and ruin the planet anyway. Don't like either cup ramens or hot pockets. I've seen a guy get shot in the balls with a CS can, nearly blew his balls off. Yeah, well, I said in my gas mask scammers video, I said all about things where they advertise stuff as new, but they're not really new. It's like new old stock, which isn't too bad if you know it's out of date stuff and it's cheap. But the problem is lots of this stuff is meant to make you believe it's brand new, you know, like fully working stuff when it's often not. I'm gonna stream for about an hour, so I've streamed for 42 minutes so far, so I'll be on for another 20 odd minutes. I get all my masks from eBay, so don't keep asking where I get individual masks from, because I think there's only been a couple of masks I've ever bought from surplus stores. Did a video on that fog dude, so watch that video. No, I got asked about Thunderfoot's video yesterday, and I did a reply saying obviously he has no fucking clue what he's talking about with nerve gas, because he was making some anti-gun argument, wasn't he, saying, well, people can't make a nerve gas in their house, so therefore nerve gas isn't actually dangerous. Not being aware that military nerve agent is very different from somebody trying to make it in their shed. But that Tokyo subway attack thing is really I hate that, because the Tokyo subway attack, and I've said several times, was carried out with an impure nerve agent. It was somebody basically trying to make a nerve agent in a shed or a garage using very basic chemical equipment. They didn't make a proper nerve agent, so when it was deployed it didn't kill lots of people because it wasn't a proper nerve agent, and then people use that as an example of why nerve agents aren't actually very deadly. However, if you look at the amount of people that were hospitalised due to that, you know, supposed sarin attack, thousands were hospitalised for, like, temporary blindness, headaches, nausea, kind of, you know, massive sweating or drooling everywhere. So if that had been actual sarin, the thousands of people injured would actually be thousands of people dead. But again, I think he's one of those kind of left-wing science channels where, you know, the science has to fit their argument, not, you know, actual truth. But I'm not going to give him views and, you know, anything to do with that. I had a quick flick through the video and it was just a load of garbage. Most of the comments were saying the exact same thing. You know, where because he was trying to make the argument that, you know, we should have banned guns, because if that cult used guns, they'd have killed a lot more people. If that same cult had used knives, they'd have killed a lot more people. If they had, like, 10 different operatives stabbing people in a crowded subway. And that would do a lot more damage than releasing, you know, poorly manufactured nerve agent. You know, if they'd have used phosgene, which is far easier to produce, they'd have killed far more people, because you can make phosgene very easily, but not nerve agent. No, I don't get complaints from my neighbours. I just went into detail, Simon. Don't ask questions like that, Ryan. I'm sure you can look stuff like that up online, but let's not talk about making chemical weapons in my stream. I'll remove your comment for now. Oh, that's the wrong comment. Deleted because the chat moved. Just give me a second. Alright, there we go. Sorry Simon, didn't mean to delete you, you're not blocked or anything, but your comment just moved when I tried to click on the other one. Well, it depends which country's hazmat definition you're going on, but most countries do the thing. A hazmat suit is a positive pressure sealed suit, which is completely impervious to every chemical, biological sort of threat. NBC suits are basically waterproof clothing that you use in conjunction with a gas mask. Well, the really cool bayonet, but I don't have one, is the Enfield bayonet. You know, the giant sword bayonet. But the one I have, the bayonet I have, I really like is the Swiss Sturmgewehr 57 one I've got. That's a really cool bayonet. Like, a really nice ribbed handle on it and quite a massive blade. I think my area is 25% non-British bullfrog, to give you an idea. Yeah, exactly, sheep. Yeah, you notice in the description it says I don't talk about religion, yet you're bringing up religious questions, aren't you? Yeah, no worry, Ryan. That's the saying. I didn't block you because I thought you were asking it in an innocent way. It's just I don't want people discussing manufacturing of, you know, obviously chemical weapons in the thing. Like I said, I'm sure if people are determined enough to look up how to make them, they can do. But yeah, lots of these things, you know, because I'm sure I'm on a watch list already. I really don't want people discussing, you know, stuff like that. I just put a gas mask on and clear it up. Yeah, people keep bringing up that Duke Nugget guy, but I don't think he has many viewers, and I think he's one of those, like I'm saying, I don't want to be harsh on him because I haven't watched his stuff, but I get the impression he's one of those channels that attacks bigger YouTubers to try and get views that way. But I did a video explaining exactly why air fresheners work for testing them, because they're generally a mix of particulates and vapours, and if you test it in an airtight room with a vapour spray, it's the exact same thing as using banana oil. I mean, banana oil is still a better choice because it's a much stronger smell, but, you know, using an air freshener in an enclosed space is still a perfect way to test a mask. It's not that sciencey testing an airtight seal by making a strong smell in the room. Yeah, I learnt to drive in a Skoda Fabia, funnily enough. That was the car I learnt to drive in and passed my driving test in. But that would have been like, you know, a 10-year-old Skoda Fabia. Well, when you finish the stream, YouTube automatically uploads them after processing them. Mouldy toes, how many times? Why do you keep bringing up all these things when we've already said we've discussed them? Right, this will be your last warning, right? Because I think you're doing this now to try and annoy me. We'll keep talking about subjects, say that we've, you know, discussed them, or we're not going to discuss them, and just keep bringing them up again. Yeah, we did have a rape gang, though, in my area, Bullfrog, that was going on. Like, not the exact area I live, but down one of the roads. We had a big one. Favourite video games? Probably Oddworld's Abe's Exodus. Chlorine gas kills more effectively than mustard gas. Because I'll just go back to alright, because Yoga Sprava got in a load of trouble a while ago for demonstrating how good body armors are. You know, so I made those videos private because at the time YouTube was flagging and like going after channels that have done Kevlar test videos, even though it's a totally legit thing to do, to see if a Kevlar vest would protect you from a certain weapon. YouTube went after him at a time because the Daily Mail made a stink about it. That's why I made them private, and I've not made them public again yet. But yeah, chlorine gas in concentration is worse than mustard gas in terms of you need to inhale less chlorine for it to kill you. Mustard gas is much nastier though. A massive amount of mustard, if inhaled, can kill you, but mustard can destroy your eyes and obviously destroy all your skin. Lewisite is worse than mustard and can actually kill through skin contact as well due to kidney failure, I believe. But phosgene was the deadliest of the World War I gases. 85% of gas deaths in World War I were due to phosgene gas. And again, phosgene is one of those things where anybody with a bit of scientific knowledge could easily whip it up and use it, you know, for bad purposes. But again, I don't want to really go into that. But Wild Tree Man, what should actually happen is they should be arrested, and we don't have the death sentence anymore, but they should be hung. I mean, what we're seeing now is they're getting lynched in parts of the UK because law and order's breaking down more and more because this country's turning more and more into, you know, some sort of dystopian hellhole. Well, you can't get nerve agent. Right, that's your last warning, hazardous hazmat, because I'm sure you're asking these things now to be, you know, edgy and whatever. But, you know, you don't ask where can I buy chemical weapons and stuff like that on my streams. Yeah, if people are doing all these things legally and whatever, it's fine. But I've seen lots of videos where people are, you know, like they just go into an open field where there's lots of living things about, you know, and then they just make some bloody gas and they like kill all the wildlife and all the plants in the area because they just thought, oh, let's make some poison gas in an open area. Yeah, they should have the book thrown at them for doing that. I mean, I'm glad those people are stupid enough that they'll stick it on their YouTube channel so they can get arrested. I think I actually went around flagging a load of those videos a while ago where I found people randomly in public places just making chemical weapons to test them. So, like, you know, I really do hope those people get caught, because they've got what's coming to them, really. England hasn't had a death sentence since the 60s. Yeah, cool. The FP5 filter was good because you can stick it on all the thingy-bob masks. You know, if you actually earn your income from a YouTube channel, you can write, you can fill out your forms and you can use the gas mask as expenses. But only if you're actually properly making enough money from it. Otherwise, you know, the tax man wouldn't care. Who thought he got banned from politics? What? Well, if you have a perfect legal system where without, you know, any proven doubt you can prove that people have done really horrible crimes, then they should be, you know, executed. And you shouldn't have the big appeal system like the US where it costs loads of money. It should be without, you know, any shred of doubt that you were, you know, there's forensic evidence and everything else that you did the crime. You know, within a week, hang them, shoot them, whatever. Get it done with. But yeah, only in a perfect scenario like that, because I do worry about the state having the power to publicly execute people if, you know, they're very corrupt like the UK government is, because, you know, it's just going to be political prisoners that are executed, not people who've really committed crimes. Art of Self-Destruction sometimes posts on my videos. I haven't blocked him. He posted on a video the other day. Unless he's been shadow banned by YouTube, like I think a lot of people have, because I think some people, if they talk about certain subjects, seem to get shadow banned, I've noticed, because lots of people keep saying, why have you been blocked? Why have you blocked me? And I haven't blocked them, but they've suddenly stopped commenting after a certain point, so it would not surprise me if he's been shadow banned for saying something. So if he wants to, get him to make a new account, or it might just be you saying it's a friend, whatever, I really don't care. If you think you've been banned or whatever, make a new account and just comment again. And then just obviously follow my rules. But I haven't blocked Art of Self-Destruction because I saw him posting the other day. But I've had quite a few people say that now, where they've made a new account and said, you know, my old account's been blocked and I haven't blocked them. But I do think YouTube actually shadow bans people after a while if they've maybe had too many arguments with people or too many people have flagged their comments. I haven't been to Glasgow, no. I've been to Edinburgh. I think I went to Stirling. I went to quite a few of the places in Scotland because I went up to Harrison Lewis, Fort William, and everything. Yeah, just get him to make a new account then, Ben. And then he can start commenting again. You can make new YouTube accounts really easily now, because you can make them through your same Google account. But yeah, I have not banned him. But I suspect, because I did see he was arguing with some people the other day, that maybe some people flagged his comments and now he's been shadow banned or something. Yeah, like Bullfrog says, I definitely think there's a shadow ban thing going on now, because I've had so many people tell me, who I know for certain I've not blocked, because, you know, I talk to them quite regularly, where all of a sudden they stop commenting and then they come back and say, oh, I think I've been blocked, you know, from another account or whatever. So yeah, I think YouTube, I mean, it might even be if I make a comment on other people's videos, it would do the same thing, I don't know. No, sadly I've not been to the US. If I did, I'd have lots of videos on it. I don't like MRE, stop asking that, I get asked that every stream. Right, a few more minutes and it's been an hour. It's not MREs are useless, it's that the amount of money they cost to buy as a civilian over here are so overpriced and stupid. It's like you could buy a week's worth of food for the price of a single MRE. You know, that's why I don't like them in a sense, because people seem to be like, why don't you buy overpriced MREs and do a video on, you know, a day's worth of food? Yeah, no worry, but I'm saying I just get asked that every stream. Because I have some, like, individual users that always howl me and they're like, so are you going to do an MRE video yet? Even when I've told them I'm not. Yep, sea bass can bite. Most fish can actually bite you. But there was obviously massive sea bass on that coast that were fed quite regularly, and then when I wandered out there, threw them a little bit of bread, then ran out of bread, they went for my legs. I'm sure, let me just Google it. Just seeing if there's actually any pictures where people will show, like, bite wounds. It's not very pleasant, but if you type in barracuda bite, it's a bit like that. I mean, obviously the barracuda actually has teeth, but if you look at those bite marks, it look like less serious ones of those. But yeah, obviously most fish do have teeth, so if the fish swarm you and start biting you, they will draw blood. Their teeth go through your skin pretty easily. I mean, I quite want to go to New England. I just have to definitely find somewhere while I'm there where you can go to a gun range and just rent guns to shoot. Because I know that's really popular in Vegas and everything like that, but I imagine it's very overpriced in Vegas compared to some of the other places. I think I get on the best with New England because it's the most similar climate to where I am. I have an IBM Model M. You know, the really good classic IBM keyboard with the buckling springs. I found it in my attic and I was very, very pleased it was not thrown away years ago. Because now, let's have a look at how much a new IBM Model M costs. Well, not a new one, but... Right. £301 for one of the IBMs. Let me just go on eBay quickly and see if more come up. £50 one of them, plus money if you want to spend more for it. £300, £323, £111, £111, £168. Some which are really actually cheap, surprisingly, but they're in the US, not the UK. But yeah, lots of them are like £150 plus to £300, these keyboards, because they're, you know, like back when keyboards were amazingly good build quality. Yeah, if you could find MREs really, really cheap somewhere, then I'd think they would be worth buying a load of. The issue is I have never seen MREs under £20, and normally always £20 to £30 for a day's worth of food. And you know, for £20 to £30 you could buy easily a week's worth of food at a supermarket if you knew what you were doing. Yeah, like I said, I was really lucky this keyboard wasn't thrown away years ago, because it was the one we used to have on our Windows 3.1. You know, that's going back a long time, isn't it? And then the keyboard was in the attic for ages, and then one day I was clearing out the attic, and I was like, oh, this keyboard looks cool, let me plug it into my PC. And then I was like, wow, it's so much better typing on a mechanical keyboard than it is typing on one of those shitty modern ones with the little rubber grommets under the keys. No, I haven't been to any YouTube conventions. You see, I don't like the old big YouTube things. I just generally like channels like mine, or Weapon Collectors, or Jack Strikers. You know, stuff like that. People who... Because I think when a lot of YouTube channels get too big, that's when they kind of sell out. That's obviously not the truth of lots of channels. I'm sure there's lots of very good big channels that still do what they like doing. But in general, I don't like the idea of all the glitz around big channels. Yeah, exactly. You could buy more than the week's worth of food for £30, but the point I'm making is that, you know, for the price of a single day's food with an MRE, buying a second-hand MRE, you could just buy lots and lots of actual food. What I like to buy from Aldi is the 25p packets of rice with vegetables mixed in, which are like vacuum packed. So you just boil that for like 10 minutes, and then you have like nearly 500 calories worth of rice and veg. And that's 25p a packet, so, you know, much, much cheaper than buying MREs. You could even get several of those to eat per day. I don't know what the particular keyboards were, Putin, I had before, but, you know, just very generic kind of Logitech type ones, or whatever else, that where keys start sticking after a while. MREs are not so much better. Lots of MREs are just horribly preserved food. I didn't even know they did Help for Heroes range days, but that's very interesting. Thanks, I'll try and look into that next time I hear one's on, if there's one near me. I explain that in a video I got my YouTube name. Well, GCHQ accused me of being paid off by Putin, so maybe it really is Putin. But I do want my money, Putin, you know, for being a Russian agent, which I supposedly am. Yeah, time is up. Yeah, I just noticed that. I was looking at the thing. It's been 1 hour and 3 minutes. Right, so what I need to do now is, later on today I have to go to the pharmacy again, because my life-prolonging medication, which is why I tell people I never bother prepping for more than a couple of weeks, because I'm screwed if my medication runs out. I'm nearly out of it, because the pharmacy has been fucking me over time and time again, telling me it will be in tomorrow, we promise, going in, and the medicine not being there. So today's their last chance to actually have it in, or I'm going to be seriously pissed off. So I'm going to have to hope when I go to the pharmacy this afternoon they've actually got my life-saving medication in. So there we go. That's my plan for... well, the GP can write me a prescription, but you need to actually get a pharmacy to have your medication, and this is the issue. It's no issue with the prescription. I've got a prescription, but none of the pharmacies have it in, and they're not being good at ordering them in. So yeah, but I'm definitely complaining to my doctor once I get this thing to, you know, put my prescriptions into a different pharmacy by default, because I had this with another pharmacy before. used to go to one pharmacy for years, and then they kept messing me about over and over and over with prescriptions, you know, not having them in, but not being honest when they'd actually get them in. So they constantly say, come in on this day, we'll have it in, and then they wouldn't have it, and then they just keep saying the same stuff over and over. Got changed to another pharmacy, that was alright for a while, and now it's the same thing. So now I'm going to, have to actually, probably change again, but I'll go for one that's not a Lloyd's pharmacy next time. Let's see if that helps. Well, this wouldn't make a difference because the pharmacy system is private, basically. Although the doctor is socialised, it's NHS, he's written me the prescription, that's not a problem. I've got my prescription, that's not the issue, it's that the private pharmacies don't have it in and they're not really ordering it in, because I guess maybe they've not got their budget to allocate the more stock coming in or whatever, but, you know, because they don't give a shit, that's the thing. Anyway, I'm off, so see you later.